U.S. officials tell CBS News a major Iranian attack aimed at military targets in Israel could be imminent. The United States is urging Americans who are in Israel to restrict their movements ahead of a possible attack. It would be retaliation for Israel's deadly strike on Iran's embassy in Syria earlier this month. Today, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff spoke with CBS Mornings about the situation in the Middle East.
We're really trying to avoid war, and this is part of the dialogue that I have with my counterparts within the region, to include the Israeli chief of defense, who I talked to yesterday. And we're doing things not only to prevent a war, but at the same time, one of my primary things is make sure that all of our forces in the region are protected.
We have team coverage of the situation in the Middle East. CBS News national security correspondent David Martin is at the Pentagon. But let's begin with CBS News foreign correspondent Debora Patta, who is in Tel Aviv, Israel. So, Deborah, if Iran attacks Israel, what would happen?
Well, it will either be a direct attack, Elaine, from Iran or via a proxy like Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed group in Lebanon. Now, right now, Israel is bracing for the worst-case scenario, an attack on Israeli soil from Iran, which would be a first. We spoke to a security expert. She's a former Mossad official, Sima Shine, who told us that she believes it is still true that both sides do not want a regional conflict, but she also said it is the most worried she's been in a long time, and really what happens depends on the nature of that attack. Iran, for example, could choose to strike infrastructure and avoid civilian casualties, and then, Shine says, Israel could itself choose to walk away from further retaliation if the damage is not significant. But of course, you know, Elaine, once you start something, you can't always be sure how it will end. And if there are many people killed or injured, that, she says, has the potential to become a regional war.
Is it clear if de-escalation is possible?
Well, we know that publicly, and Shine also told us that behind closed doors, the United States is trying to de-escalate this conflict. It's talking to the Iranians through different channels and trying to persuade them not to retaliate. Also, this will be weighing very heavily on Tehran's mind, how to respond in a way that signals that they take the attack on their Syrian embassy seriously, but at the same time launching a response that doesn't escalate this conflict further. There are reports, for example, that Iran has telegraphed to diplomatic officials in the West and the U.S. in particular that it will show some kind of restraint and respond in a way that doesn't result in further confrontation. But this is all in the realm of speculation. Ultimately, nobody knows for sure where or how Iran will strike. Here in Tel Aviv, a city used to war, life pretty much goes on as usual.
All right, Debora Patta for us. Deborah, thank you. Let's turn to David Martin now, who is at the Pentagon. And David, what would an Iranian attack look like? What would it mean for the U.S.?
Well, U.S. officials are expecting and seeing Iran make preparations for an attack that would involve more than 100 drones, dozens of cruise missiles, and even some ballistic missiles. Now, that is a fairly substantial attack, and there is some question as to whether Israel can defend against an attack of that magnitude. So what this means for the U.S., you've heard President Biden. He may be critical of the way Israel is conducting the war in Gaza, but he's all in when it comes to defending Israel against an attack from Iran. And there are ballistic missile defense ships, U.S. ballistic missile defense ships in the eastern Mediterranean, and there are U.S. aircraft at bases throughout the Middle East, which could be used if Israel needs help in repelling this attack if and when it comes.
Well, David, can Iran realistically afford to get involved in a significant military conflict?
Iran knows that it will suffer severe losses if it gets in a conflict with either Israel or the United States or, of course, both. What U.S. officials think Iran is doing is constructing an attack that is big enough to get at least some drones or missiles through Israeli defenses so that they can land something on Israeli territory and claim to have punished Israel for its attack on the Iranian consulate in Damascus, but not have an attack so big that it triggers a war. Now, that obviously is a very dicey proposition, because Israel has already said if Iran strikes Israel, Israel will strike back.
So, David, in terms of the U.S., how dangerous is this potential escalation?
Well, it depends on whether it spreads to the proxy militias, the Iranian-backed militias in Iraq and Syria. They have not been attacking U.S. bases for quite some time now, but they could, either at Iran's order or on their own, start conducting attacks on U.S. troop locations again in Iraq and Syria. And then, of course, there's the much wider threat. If Israel retaliates, Iran sees the United States as an accomplice of Israel. Israel would probably retaliate using American-built warplanes, and that, I think, would make American forces in the Middle East, at least in Iranian eyes, legitimate targets.
Incredibly delicate situation. David Martin at the Pentagon for us. David, thank you.